Welcome, folks, to Wake Up Call. I'm your host, Albert Wilson. This is Wake Up Call. I'm not too happy about this having to be pre-recorded because it makes it possible under circumstances for the United Nations quietly invading, have been for about 20 years, out of uniform, of course, with the sanction and direction of the CIA, who actually planned this takeover in U.S. think tanks after they won the war against the FBI and other intelligence agencies, where there used to exist kind of some checks and balances between intelligence agencies, with the help of foreign UN soldiers and clandestine types. They prevailed, and so the Central Intelligence Agency was formed initially entirely of Nazi spy cells. Now totally controls the United States and all statistics, what's aired on the press, who's allowed to run for president, who's killed or who suicides or has accidents, and you're killed if you even look into what their policy is. Now I've got the Elmer Fudd look tonight. Okay, some swelling in here, but at least my teeth look a little better, huh? Sort of, kind of. But in any case, I want to tell you it's very important that you get a hold of some information. A lot of police, a lot of DEA, a lot good and bad of various agencies all like to listen to coasttocoastam.com. You can go on there and find out what radio station you can listen on. If you want to record with a little Sony IC recorder, intelligence community recorder, it's really about the best for the money, much better than some of the others. You can record like 12 or more hours straight with two little AAA batteries in it, and with a little bit of anonymity. If you don't care about that so much, you can just go to coasttocoastam.com if you subscribe to that, and you can watch it in the daytime even though the show comes on at night. Right now, this time of year in Tucson, it comes on 7:90 a.m. At like 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock. It's a 4-hour program. That's George Noory is the best host, and so is now weekends, wonderfully. There is John B. Wells, dynamite. Those two guys on Coast to Coast AM, they are the best since the legendary Art Bell. The true state of science and all is so much more advanced than the average person has any idea about. But there's some very big things getting ready to come down. Of course, part of the reason I do this show is to entertain the intelligence community, to get more information from them also, but more importantly, to try to expose plans before they happen. And since secrecy is such an important thing to this United Nations one world military dictatorship, that it kind of spoils things if you talk about it in advance. So I guess I better start by trying to spoil a plan right at the moment. There is a plan, apparently, to assassinate the contender for president when it appears that he's going to win, or shortly after he has won. Apparently, the Bilderbergs decided they were going to make Romney the winner, and then cause rioting in the streets and all kinds of stuff. You may have noticed that there's all kinds of threats of assassination and murder and burning and looting and all kinds of things on the internet, probably largely, if not mostly, by the CIA. I would call the enemy within. Even their oversight committee is not free to oversee anything but what the CIA hands them to oversee. And that would have the same blacked out information that you get when you go for a Freedom of Information Act about anything of any importance. But and declare permanent martial law, not even have an election. Well, we shall see. But It's going to make them have to go in their war room and decide whether or not they need to change the plan now. Otherwise, I might get some recognition, and they cannot afford that at any cost. I have too much dirt on them. Man, they're trying everything to create dirt on me. I have my doctor trying to get a prescription refilled on something. They take so long, I said, what the hell? I just made an appointment and went in there to get a prescription refilled. And I had a feeling that they were pulling the same thing that was done one time before with a different doctor. I had to quit because of apparently a Central Intelligence Agency or some kind of spook came in there posing as a doctor, and a nurse tipped me off. There were absolute lies in my medical record. I'd better get a copy of it. So I did, and it's unbelievable. The doctor, I confronted, it was even in this other doctor, this government doctor, or maybe not even a doctor, put in his own handwriting, it wasn't even the doctor's, complete lies. And I confronted the doctor about it, and he wouldn't, he was frightened. He was literally frightened, I guess, of losing his license and his livelihood. So anyway, so I said, well, as much as I liked that doctor, I couldn't keep him when he sanctioned total criminality. And that's the kind of country we're becoming now, totally unrecognizable to even what it was even 10 years ago, much less 50 years ago. So this doctor, had another guy come in, and okay, so they asked, if they ask you, is it okay to have a student sit in on a meeting? That's a clue. That's what they do when they want a saboteur to come in. If they say no, will not allow anybody else in my, So this time, they asked that again. I knew that had to be what it was. So I said no. So the next time I came in, had a routine visit, lab tests and whatnot, there was a guy. This time he just went into another room adjacent to it. I'm going, this looks like another one of these type of guys. And so I got a copy of my medical report. That doctor visit was not even in the copy of the records. I'm sure after I'm dead of whatever reason, suicide or accidental death or something, it'll come up, and who knows what it'll say. Now in the Obama health care bill, gun confiscation is part of that. I mean, thousands of pages, or over 1,000 pages anyway, that weren't even allowed to be read until after it was signed. That's why, because the congressmen wanted to be off the hook, even though apparently the United Nations was threatening to kill them or worse if they attempted to interfere with this global dictatorship. Additionally, the Obama plan, which I guess Romney's aide came out and said that, well, Romney's wasn't going to call it a tax. It seems like he was trying to say that Romney's plan was the same as Obama's. The problem is Romney, I guess, is Mormon, and the Catholic Church has already been, so much ingrained. I don't think they want any competition. And this may have a lot to do with why this plan to get rid of Romney was hatched. And I certainly hope that the Secret Service is looking into these threats against Romney, because I think we need a fair election at least. But, of course, presidential elections are really decided at the primaries, who you're given to choose between. And I personally happen to believe the allegations made by someone who took a lot of guts to say it, true or false. I mean, they'd be killed for saying it even if it was a lie. And they didn't sound like they were lying. And I don't know what the payoff would be for them. That, I've heard other things too, that a lot of Obama's family worked for the CIA at various points. And so it's not hard to believe that he also was working for the CIA, as alleged in Colombia, wasn't really a citizen, and therefore is completely does everything he's told by the CIA, which basically you could call Nazis, I suppose, at the highest levels. Apparently the Nazis even had an age reversal technique, and I'm told that some of the original Nazis now actually look Now, see, a lot of it is younger than they did then. What causes aging is that a thing in our DNA that says at a certain time says stop producing new cells. Apparently our DNA was fooled with at one time, and but they found a way to change that back to where they call it the Methuselah gene, possibly maybe 900 years lifespan, free of cancer and all viruses and bacteria. Amazing, but apparently that's the reason behind a lot of the high-level microbiologists being killed. Also, they would too readily find cures for biological warfare techniques planned, apparently. Well, at any rate, I shouldn't ramble too much, but I thought I should let you know about that only because if it happens now, they have two problems, and there might be an attempt to interview me, and I've got all kinds of dirt about this. They can't allow that to happen, so I hope it makes them change their plan, or at least delay it a little bit, because people are waking up quickly. Well, Leon Panetta, Secretary of Defense, member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was cornered by a congressman on C-SPAN and said that yes, the U.S. military takes orders, its fighting orders, from the United Nations, not the United States. Now, this is troubling because under the National Defense Authorization Act, which got no press coverage, everything that they did in Nazi Germany, the Nazis did, is legal now to do in the United States. And in Germany, of course, they did it despite it being illegal. Now in the United States, a much larger country, it is even legal for the U.S. military to take people out of their homes in the dead of night or in broad daylight, and without any charges, on a so-called rumor. Well, that could be anything. Pay off to a general by someone that, to a competitor or someone they didn't like, you know, just whatever. Well, yep, we're suspicious of somebody about something. We don't have to say what, and just pick them up, take them off to. They could take them to Gitmo if they wanted to. They're allowed to take people without giving them a phone call, a lawyer, a trial. No charges, just arrest them on a suspicion and keep them as long as they want for the rest of their lives. They can also torture them and kill them, and it's all considered legal. Now this, to me, for both houses of Congress to pass this almost unanimously, and for the president to sign it on when Congress is basically gone and no press coverage, on a holiday. Tells me that this is not just the usual dirt on people saying you better sign it or else. This sounds like a threat against our lives. To get both houses of Congress to almost unanimously pass the highest treason, and then the free press to say not one peep about it, the biggest story in our lifetimes. Basically, the dissolution of the Constitution and Bill of Rights, essentially, is now possible at a whim. And there is an agreement that the United Nations is going to disarm the American people or order the U.S. military to do it. First, they intend to collapse the economy where the dollar won't buy anything. There is an interruption of food, of water, of work. That kind of hardship, then they offer you the safety of the death camps that you may have seen on the internet all over the country. Various huge millions of people can be detained there. They have plans to separate the men, the women, and the children into separate groups to execute them separately. There is the largest execution camp is in New York City. They figure they can handle about 500,000 people. About 500,000 people per day, farming them out to other smaller execution camps. The one on the West Coast, I forgot where that is just now. Significantly smaller, but an awful lot of people. I guess the idea of separating men, women, and children is because they figure the men won't act up too much if they think mercy is going to be showed to their wife and to their children. The women won't act up too much if they think mercy might be showed to the children, so they kill them all separately. That's been a plan for many, many years. And of course, the Nazi war program worldwide has been planned for many years, like a lawyer for Rockefeller said many years ago. He said, to bet on the future prosperity of America would be a bad bet. So all of our productivity was sent to China, or Japan, all other countries. So that's okay. We're a service economy. You can be servants. You've still got service economy. And then they send us all the service jobs to India and other, and other places. So basically all we produce now is fiberboard, I guess, and military weapons. Not too much else. So we're approaching a very crucial point in our history. I hope that Americans will not take orders to kill Americans. They have given citizenship to anyone that'll, no matter how much they hate Americans, who will fight and do the killing for the Nazi CIA and any other country. They're given American citizenship. Now, I take a great deal of risk for this, because they cannot take a chance of my being interviewed by the media or getting a hearing. I organized a grand jury hearing years ago when these official, clandestine, multinational cops and clandestine types came into my church, the Los Angeles University Cathedral, Dr. Gene Scott in Los Angeles, his church. There was terror, torture, murder, theft right out of the collection plate by cops who made themselves, Interpol, international cops, and U.S. citizen cops as well, stealing money right out of the collection plate. I was a witness of this. I was the main witness. I got a grand jury hearing going. They intercepted the notification of when day and time the grand jury hearing was to take place. They didn't know that I even had found out from a clandestine type who gave me a copy of it on the sly, that I even knew that the grand jury hearing was going to happen. So I showed up about an hour and a half late to find an exact lookalike of me on the stand testifying to black female Judge Richards on the state side in Los Angeles on the second or the third floor. Anyway, when the cops saw me and the jurors saw me, their jaws dropped to their laps, and then the cops jumped up and started running at me from the location of the judge, and I thought, I know they're not coming to shake my hand, so I made a run for it. The escape siren was sounded in Los Angeles, and I was running for my life. I understand that the grand juries all died, but since they were under sequestered, what it was about, the whole United Nations invasion and takeover of the United States was underway and could be jeopardized if it went to open trial, as they insisted that it be. So they were all, they all died of natural causes, and their families didn't know that the other grand jurors also died. That's what I'm told. And I believe that information is accurate. Like I say, there was a black woman and a white man, young Congress people at the time. I was watching C-SPAN live on the floors of Congress, and these two Congress people were obviously trying to warn of an impending UN invasion. Then, shortly thereafter, there was a huge tornado, or actually I guess you'd call it a hurricane, that struck Florida. They said only 300 people died, but I was told so many people died that they were jettisoning them out of torpedo chutes, putting bodies in big piles and burning them. That's after all the morgues were full. And what people, military types I spoke to there in Florida by phone told me was that the funny thing was that all the planes flying around were the A series of C-5s. We had none. of those left. We'd given them all to the United Nations. Then, of course, our military bases closed, but there were still soldiers in them, or rather, different soldiers. Interesting. And I guess I was told that a scalar craft is what guided the hurricane into Florida. Some of you know about the scalar technology. Fletcher Prouty is not Fletcher Prouty. He was tortured for 2 weeks until he died of pneumonia under orders of George Bush Sr. under extreme prejudice. There is another person posing as Fletcher Prouty, who's a Jesuit. And the Jesuit order is that part of the Catholic Church trained in the art of warfare, torture, pedophilia, arson, terror, explosives, etc., etc. I think that an unusual group of female Jesuits are behind the smiley face killers, who are killing only the creme de creme of American young men who were top scholastically, who were top sports-wise, who were leaders of men, very popular. The potential presidents and other leaders of the future, America's finest youth, are being systematically murdered, and I believe that a Jesuit order of females is behind that. Of course, the media doesn't cover it, or it might have to stop. They'd be too high profile and they'd have to stop doing it. So they thank the media, like Rockefeller thanked the media, or the New World Order, the One World United Nations military dictatorship wouldn't be possible. But it's certainly being fast-tracked now. But I don't believe that our Congress would have passed such an act of treason as the National Defense Authorization Act unless they were feared for their lives, and the media would be silent about the biggest story in their lifetimes, except under threat of death. So, they're talking about permanent martial law and suspending any future presidential elections. And failing that, having Romney win, be assassinated, riot and burning in the cities, blaming it on black people, even though the reason that cameras are confiscated and other such incidences in the United States is because judges ordered the cameras to be confiscated and the film destroyed, because you would recognize otherwise these people on the film to be the self-same individuals that you see in other parts of the world rioting and burning in those streets. It's a job. Terrorism is it's work, high risk for high pay, and governments hire them, large corporations hire them. But the little whacked out job people seldom get anywhere. I'm told that the guy that did this shooting in Colorado, his dad was going to testify about the Liborg scandal. I bet you after his son shot all those people, they decided not to let his dad testify about the lenders' corruption. What a shame. And I guess he was a top student in, he was doing a project about mind control, essentially. Seems like maybe he volunteered for an experiment that he suddenly went downhill very fast, and he didn't even remember, apparently right afterwards, that he even did anything. It sounds very much like MK Ultra mind control. In any case, you got to take those guns away. The guns did it. Not people mind programmed to do it, to take the guns away. It was all the guns' fault. Take the guns away and we won't have any trouble taking you to the death camps. The first thing the Nazis did, it's the first thing the Nazis planned to do this time. Karl Rove said, whose dad was a Gauleiter, a governor of one of the Nazi provinces, said, we're going to do it the same way as we did it in Nazi Germany. They burned the Reichstag, they burned the Twin Towers. They blamed it on terrorists, they blamed it on terrorists. They confiscated the weapons, and they safely take people off to the death camps. Everything's in place, folks. better think about it. Not much time is left. Good night, good luck to the next time if there is one.